So this is a constructive, costed plan. Yes, it means getting rid of the proposed legislation from a Labour government on the two-child cap. It is reducing the benefits bill in favour of encouraging private enterprise and jobs and wealth creation. The pub does matter, and every pub's a parliament is a phrase that I came up with 25 years ago. Amazing how in a pub you can have a firm opinion and someone says, well, hang on a second, have you looked at it like this? And you might change your view by 180 degrees. What is happening to our pubs, what is happening to our hospitality sector is little short of a disaster. They're on the edge of falling off a cliff. It's serious. It's very, very serious. And it isn't just the Reeves budgets. Of course, this does go back to swinging increases in beer duty that happened especially in Jeremy Hunt's time. Yes, there are cultural changes. Yes, there are fewer young people drinking alcohol regularly. But they're drinking other brands. They're drinking low alcohol. They're drinking zero alcohol. And there is little doubt that certainly in small town, small village Britain, when pubs close, it is a social disaster for the community. So we've tried here to put forward some quite sensible proposals. If you just think about it, VAT going down to 10%, allied to a 10% cut in beer duty, would be 44p of a pint of beer before you even begin. Average price probably of a pint of beer at the moment, around about £4.80. But actually we go further with this, with changes to regulation, with the gradual phasing out of business rates. I would think within 2 to 3 years, these measures would take £1 off every pint, which does at least begin to bring back some degree of competitiveness against the supermarkets. But the other killer for pubs, of course, given that many are pretty drafty old buildings, is energy bills. Energy bills have closed as many pubs in the last 5 years as any other factor. And the net zero lunacy that we were taken down by the Conservatives and now being followed by a level of fanaticism, I think is the only way I can possibly describe Miliband's feelings towards the subject, is something else that a reform government, by getting rid of all of the artificial subsidies, would yet further help our pubs and indeed our broader hospitality sector. The national insurance increases. We're now told that the Chancellor, despite her 10 years as a very senior economist at the Bank of England, didn't understand what the knock-on effects would be. And certainly bringing down the national insurance level to £5,000 a year has put paid to tens of thousands of young people getting those part-time jobs they want when they're students at university or younger than that. So this is a constructive, costed plan. Yes, it means getting rid of the proposed legislation from a Labour government on the two-child cap. It is reducing the benefits bill in favour of encouraging private enterprise and jobs and wealth creation. And that, I think, is perhaps a snapshot of what you'll see more broadly in terms of economic policy coming out of reform over the course of the next months and years. The public sector, the welfare bill, cannot go on rising unless we start to create more wealth. This plan already has been welcomed by some quite senior figures in the pub. And don't forget the brewing industry. Dozens of small breweries closed around the United Kingdom last year. And if we can keep more pubs open, it will be a social good for the United Kingdom. Now, I've got a list of questions here. I suspect that pubs won't be the only item on the agenda today. I could be wrong, of course. Let's start with Ben Wright from the BBC.
Thank you.
Is there a microphone? There is.
Sorry, where are you? Thank you very much, Mr. Farage. Yes, on the story of the day, Lord Mandelson, government say that they want to introduce legislation to strip him of his title, to remove him from the Lords. What do you think about that? Will reforms support it? And moves more broadly to remove miscreant peers from the House of Lords? And secondly, why should taxpayers subsidise failing pubs because people are drinking less?
Well, it wouldn't be taxpayers subsidising it directly, would it? I mean, reducing taxation is not a subsidy. Tax is a tax. What we're doing is reducing the welfare bill in order to create private enterprise, jobs, wealth creation, people paying more tax, let alone the social benefits from it. As I understand it, the last time that titles were removed by Act of Parliament was around about the time of the First World War, when there were some supporting the other side. To me, getting rid of his title as Lord and one or two other miscreant peers, fine. But it's not the issue of the day. It absolutely is not the issue of the day. The issue of the day is that not only did this man breach cabinet confidentiality, but he leaked highly market-sensitive information. Let me tell you, when I was in the European Parliament and I was talking about the bond spreads, the width of bond spreads between Greece, Italy and Germany, when those bailouts happened, there was a massive, immediate market shift. I watched it. It was huge. Anybody that had that information, that had access to money and funds of the kind that Epstein did, well, if he made tens of millions out of it, he was lax. Because there was a chance to make hundreds of millions out of that trade. So quick was the shift in the bond spreads. That, it seems to me, must be bordering on criminal. There is no direct insider trading law for bonds in quite the same way that there is for stocks, and that's been the case since 1981, the Insider Trading Act. But it is highly sensitive market information. It is government secrets. I also wonder whether, in emails to Epstein, he talked about the security apparatus that exists underneath Number 10 and at the heart of Whitehall. That is information that is of national security importance. And so I think there is reason to ask the question whether Mandelson has not broken the Official Secrets Act. And I'd like to know whether Lord Hermer will be happy and satisfied for a prosecution to proceed on that basis. I think it's that serious. So, fine, talk about removing the title, but that really is, I think, a very small part of something that is much bigger, much more serious, and I'm not even sure that we know the full story yet. By the way, my name was mentioned 37 times in the files, but just to repeat, I never met Epstein and I didn't go to the island. Let's end with Dave Burke from the Mirror.
Hi, thank you very much, Mr. Farage. Mr. Anderson, when he was talking about the pub plan, mentioned that you'd crunched all the numbers. Have you done an impact assessment to see how many children you think would be affected by this? And just if I may, to kind of build on what you've said previously, this is the latest instance where you've mentioned restricting benefit access to foreign nationals. If you were Prime Minister and a foreign national happened to lose their job through no fault of their own, if they were made redundant or something, what would your advice to them be?
We'd be compassionate and sensible in every case, but I'd advise you to have a look at the Swedish newspapers today, and you'll find the Swedes are removing indefinite leave to remain. The Swedes are removing automatic right to citizenship after a 5-year period. I think you'll find the Swedes are following pretty much exactly the things that we have been talking about. The impact assessment from where we are today would be zero, because at the moment there is a 2-child cap. There may not be a 2-child cap at some point in the future. The impact assessment change on today would be zero.